I'm not sure. I think I wasn't recording.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Yours, yeah,
Dagnabbit.
it says record.
Huh?
Mine says record.
Right now it is. I think I wasn't before.
Hmm.
Oh, drat. All right, this
It
might be
said
one.
it before that you were recording.
What's that?
It said it before that you were recording.
It did? I'm not so sure. I think I might have to, I myself might have to go back and redo this one just for the recording. If you don't get it right away, you'll know that I screwed up. I'll know when I get the recording. Oh boy. Okay. Well, because I went to pause it. All right. Well, I'm going to go back in and I want to work on the eyes a little bit. So let me go in closer and let's go ahead and get those eyes. So I'm going to take a pretty small brush and I'm going to use a little bit of dragon's blood and I'm going to start building these eyes. So you want to paint the eyelid and also the eye above, the eyelid above the eyeball there. Now, if you use another color, you could use a little violet. What you don't want to use is anything that's going to make it look like it is a, makeup. So I'm just using my same basic three colors, my violet, my blue, and my dragon's blood. And I just personally really like what happens when things go directly onto the paper. I like that. To me, it's a little, I think, if I had to say one of the things that I do that gives my paintings a little bit more spontaneity is exactly that. I am allowing the paint to mix on the paper. I'm not mixing and overly mixing colors for this exactness. A little bit of under the eye there, and then a little bit of that nice laugh lines that he's got. And I'm going to go in and get that eye a little bit more. So I'm going to go back. Now I'm using my Cerulean, but I'm using it in a way that it is much deeper. No, you know what? I got to go deeper than that. I'm going to go in and use some.
We can't see, Jan.
Can't see it.
Can't see. Thank you.
I'm going to use a little indigo here for the outside of the iris. Yeah, that's a good compliment. And on either side. And then the pupil. How's that? Yeah, I like that. I think that looks good. So when you want things to be darker, you want to make sure you have more paint than water, right? And that's giving you that nice, deep, rich color, as opposed to before we were doing washes. I'm going to do the other eye. And these are things that I just like to do once the area is dry, because I have much more control that way. If I try to work too wet, then I'm going to be, it's just going to move.
Yeah, we can't see it. Move it down, keep going. Okay.
Little dragon's blood and violet in that corner. The close-up is good, but I do have to practice where my paper is in relationship to the camera and what you guys see. So that's just another thing that I have to work on and manage. It's like Grand Central here. It's so funny, all the equipment I have to make this happen. But I like the fact that I could make it closer for you. Going right into the brow, guys, right into the brow. So right from the corner of that eye, you go right into the brow. And then you build the brow with those same colors. Don't use brown or anything. It's just a deeper shade. Look at that. Just says exactly what you need it to say without it being too obvious. A little bit under the eye. These are all the little distinct things that help you to see all the spots of the face. All these little details. So I'm just going in and building the eyelid a little bit under the eye, right there. Just observing the photograph is giving me the information that I need. And Mike's laugh lines. Which we love. We've earned those. I'm really not gonna hide those, you know what I mean? So let me go back it out a second so you can see the whole thing, how it's coming together. So look at how that eyebrow came together just with, and remember, your blue and our dragon's blood makes a brown gray color, right? So the fact that we have two complements, a complement of orange and blue, creating that deeper tone for us. You don't have to go for your browns because those two colors will do it for you. Complements. And I love using complementary colors. Let's go a little deeper on this side. I think also, this was something else I wanted to talk to you guys about, and that is that we get afraid because we feel we judge it too early, which we talk about a lot, right? We talk about judging our work way too early. And we feel we're not getting it. It's not successful. It's not what you thought it was going to come out like. Well, we're not done. So to judge it too early is really doing yourself a disservice, because also there are lessons to be learned in whatever you might have to do to make a correction or to fix it or whatever it is. But we're not done yet. Okay, I'm going to go into the nose a little bit. We have some nice washes there. Now, underneath his nose, you want to use your same colors. You don't want to use brown. That is my blue and my dragon's blood. And I'm going to take it, I put it on the highest part of his nostril, and I'm feathering it down. Notice that they're not even. His head is turned ever so slightly. So, you know, his right eye's a little larger, his right nostril is a little larger. You know, these are all because his head is turned ever so slightly. And I think that that's a good color. Right now, to me, that feels good. I don't know if I'm going to have to go in and go darker with it, but for now, that feels good. The tip of his nose right there has a nice shadow right here. So I'm just using my same basic three colors. Certain areas may have to go a little darker. I don't have to be there just yet, okay? Remember what I said about nostrils? There's a tendency to do the entire nostril. I think that it looks far better when you just find that little point right there where the nostril and the upper cheek meet, and you carry that down. That's a nice, it's a nicer way than overstating a nostril. And then you come right into his cheek. Into what I think are dimples. Is that true, Mike? You have dimples? Looks like you got a nice dimple on either side. How lucky are you to have a nice dimple? I love dimples. I don't have a dimple. Is it dark enough? I can't say just yet because remember watercolors dry lighter. So I'm not sure if it's dark enough, but we don't have to, we can always go a little darker. And you have another one right here. It's right there. So this is, and you guys have heard me say it, make a mark and do something with it. So I made that mark and now I'm just feathering it into his skin tone. Make a mark and do something with it. I'm going to do the other thing on his, the same thing on his other side of his nostril. Now, the other side is a little bit more defined. So we could go in and define it a little bit more. It's okay, right? Right there. Doesn't have to be the same. And it shouldn't be the same because I don't see it being the same on the photograph. And I'm just turning it to feather it a little bit. I turned my paper to feather it so that I could just get a nice feather. There it is. I like that. Okay. Gonna back it out, show it to you. Coming along nicely. I do see we have to go back into his eye. I do see now we have to make his shadow a little darker. So I'm seeing things that do need to go darker and need to be fixed, but don't stay in one spot too long for too much because you'll overwork it and you won't see it in relationship to the rest of the features and the painting and the hat. Remember, we're going to add a background. We got a t-shirt going on. We got a lot more to do before we feel complete with this. So I'm going to do the upper lip. I'm going to go back into a nice close-up for you. Okay. And now that upper lip, start where the teeth are. Oh, we get to do teeth today too. Start at the bottom part of the upper lip, bottom part of the upper lip. Okay. That's the dragon's blood. I'm going to add a little bit of violet on either side to sort of cast that shadow a little stronger. And then I'm going in and dropping a little blue into it also. 3 colors. Now I'm going to take that and I'm going to turn my paper a little bit and I'm going to feather it up ever so slightly into the middle part of the upper lip. Just a little bit. And now I'm going to take my rigger and I'm going to do what we did before, which is drag some of these pieces into that upper lip from this color that I have on the bottom. If you need a little more color, drop a little bit more in. And just follow the curl. There's a certain flow and curl that's going on, especially on that left side. And just let it come up. It's sort of a prelude to fur and feathers. Sorry, Mike. It's sort of a little bit of a prelude on how I do those types of things. It's just a suggestion. You don't have to paint every hair. But that helps suggest that there's the upper lip. And now we're going to do the same thing under the nose, is pull some of this color down. Might have gotten a little dry. Might got a little bit dry. Just might have to add a little bit more color up here and pull it down. And you could have some of these meet, right? You could pull them down and have the upper part under the nose meet some of the hair that's on the bottom. Don't have to do it all. It's nice to suggest it without going crazy, because people will get the idea. So here's where I talk about leaving things unsaid. And that becomes a very personal thing of what are you willing as an artist to leave unsaid and let the viewer into your portrait, into your painting, into what your art is, and let their eye fill it in for you. You don't have to give it all away. You don't have to say everything. Now, there are plenty of artists that need to say everything. That ain't me. And I know I've heard from everyone, if not almost everyone, about your desire to be looser, more interpretive. And that's right there is your answer. What lines, what areas, what edges are you willing to lose for you to A, let the viewer in, and B, leave it unsaid? What are you willing to do? Where is your desire in that? That's a big question, guys. Big question. Big, the lower lip, I'm just bringing some of that color into it. It's really very, very light, so I'm not going to do a whole lot. Oh, and we get to do teeth, so that's fun. I want to show you that. And we could start seeing, I'm going to back it out. We could start seeing exactly what we want to start feeling is the hair and the mustache and the goatee and the shadows and all of that starts happening.
Hey, Jan.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just me, and I hope I don't offend anybody, but mine's coming out like I'm an African American.
Okay, well, you maybe just added more color, but remember we haven't put the background on, which I want to do very strong, and we haven't added his blue shirt, which will come on strong too. So Mike, I hope you don't take offense. It just probably means you used a little bit more color than maybe you needed to.
Oh, no, not at all. I'm just
I don't know.
an observation.
I cannot say for sure. All right, I'm going to go in and do the he has a little bit of a space in between the lip here, between his teeth. I'm sorry, so I'm going to take a little bit of the same colors and I'm just going to put a little bit, I'm going to come down from the upper lip to where the lower lip and just drop a line in. And that's all you sort of need is just that simple little line that indicates the space between his two front teeth. Now there are other teeth here, so here's what you do. And this is just the way I always do my teeth, is I come from the lower lip and I just dash it up a little bit. Just suggest it. Don't go all the way up. He happens to have a space there, so that is distinctive. He has a what's her name? Lauren Hutton look, space in his teeth. So he's got that Lauren Hutton thing going on. But not everybody is going to have something so strong. So you're just going to suggest it by coming up from the bottom lip. Okay. I'm going to do that bottom spot a little bit on either side of his goatee, a little bit of color. Sort of very light at this point, very watery. And so I'm using my dragon's blood and my cerulean and just suggesting, I got a brush, I'm sort of mopping this around a little bit to get some color in there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my, this is like a lot of skin here. And I'm going to use, I want it to stay pretty wet, and I'm going to use my rigger to sort of start pulling things through. Could add a little color if you need to. Facial hair is a very funny little thing you guys do to trick us girls up. And if you put some squigglies in, you won't be, it'll just help suggest it that much more. Just adding a little cerulean on this side, just on the side of his mouth, a little bit there. And there's a shape to the, facial hair. So this got to come in a little bit on this left side a little bit. I could see that. Let's back out of it and take a look. And there we start seeing facial hair. And I'm really glad I added all that dark under there. I unfortunately will probably have to start this recording again, but it happens. Okay. Now is a good time to do the hat, do the band, get some darks in, because I think it was Alex that said it. He's right. It will look too light until you start putting things next to it. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a little bit of my yellow ochre or raw sienna, and I'm just going to give some color to the hat. Okay. I'm going to leave a little bit of white in the middle. It's like there's a sheen of white sort of in the middle. So you don't have to paint the whole thing a color. Always think of light source. Light source. So the fact that I added color on either side really does add to that conversation. The brim right here is super white, but what happens when we go underneath here, right? Okay, we could use a whole lot more color. And that's, again, my raw sienna. Yellow ochre is very similar. And what are we going to use to tone that yellow down into shadow? Does anybody have a clue?
Purple. Blue.
Purple.
Purple it is, because that is the complement. Now, I'm going to go with a cool violet right against here. And I'm just going to let it feather out. So I'm dropping this nice violet right in that spot right there and let it carry out. Right here. Now, if you're adding enough color, what you're going to see is that you might have to add a little bit more yellow, a little more yellow ochre to sort of have it mix. You can even go in and add a little dragon's blood to bridge the palette. And we could add a little blue, bridging the palette. Oops, hello, little sloppy of me. All these colors will all blend beautifully to start deepening where we want to be right here, right? Which is really what we want. We want to be deeper there. And we want, I'm going to go close up to show you guys what's happening here. That's really dark. That's exactly what I want. And with all of these colors intermingling now, I've got bridging the palette. We know it's a hat. We know it's a straw hat. We don't have to go beyond to describe it.
Jan, when you say bridging, what do you mean exactly when you say bridging the palette?
Ah, very good question. So what are the colors we used in here? We used cerulean, dragon's blood, a little yellow, right? A little violet. Well, when we use those colors in here, I'm going to back it out a second. What happens is that it starts, it ties in all your colors to all your other colors. It's such a wonderful way to paint and to have your colors be so much more than just, you know, a blue house, a purple, bicycle. When you take those colors and and notice I'm just coming into his brow a little bit. I'm just letting that color come in. When you let these colors intermingle, now all of the colors make sense. So bridging the palette becomes a very nice painterly way to integrate colors everywhere into your painting. And I don't know who asked that, but it's a great question. I try to do it.
Kathy asked it.
Okay. So that's something I really like to do in all my paintings. So it means that I didn't necessarily see those colors in his hat, but I know that the entire painting will be amped up and will be successful because I added those colors.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope I mean, it's a really good question, and it's not the easiest to answer, but that really is the answer. Is it helps the entire painting be a painting and not a literal translation. We are interpreting here. And so you'll notice I'm just going darker in his shadow now because it's telling me that I can do that. So with all my colors, I can go right over that brim and even go a little darker. And so knowing that this is going to dry light, I'm going to charge it up with more color because I notice I kind of lost where his forehead is and his ends and the hat begins. Who cares? It doesn't matter. There's enough information to say it all right there, right? It doesn't matter. It's just forming a fabulous shadow. And that is really why I wanted to do a man in a hat. We did a lot of babies, I know. That's why I wanted to do exactly this for this reason, is to let this shadow shape be lost in the overall face. And I just love that I lost that line. So when we talk about lost edges, that's what I'm talking about. Are you willing to lose that edge? I was willing to lose it. You have to make that decision. This is all really wet up on top here, so I'm just going to keep charging it up with colors right up against the rim and maybe even tip it a little bit and let it sort of float down. I get that that takes guts, but look at what you have to gain from doing it. This beautiful shadow. Now again, we're not done, right? We're going to take the brim of his hat and we're going to, here's what you're going to do, guys. You're going to wet it. So this is just a little color on my brush. You're going to wet it and we're going to add every color to that brim. I don't want to see black. I don't want to see a brown. I want to see every color coming together in that brim, that ribbon on his hat. And how we're going to do it is, first I'll take my indigo. You're going to see why I love my indigo, because it moves. This is Mamari indigo. Look at that just moving for me. I got to go in close and show this to you. Look at that. Look at that. That's just like heaven. That is watercolors at its best. And that is when you let the paint do the work. Look how it's just on both sides. All I did was go in the corner, right? Let me move it over a little bit. In the corner here. And it's it's coming together on either side. And the more that I charge it, that's why I wanted you to wet it first, because I wanted you to have this experience of the color doing the work for you. Just charging up those corners, it just means that there's that much more paint to move in that ribbon. And now we're going to take that, we're going to drop all our other colors in. We're going to
Can you
drop
move the rim down? Could you move it down? Thank
I'm adding violet. Yep, you got it. There it is. There's the violet. Let me back it out a little bit. There's the violet. I just dropped the violet in. And I'm going to add every other color. Although the blue and the indigo look pretty good. I'm just turning my paper a little bit and letting them sort of come together. See how it's just traveling for me? I love that. Yeah, baby. Look at that. So let's go ahead and add some of our other colors. Let's add a little dragon's blood in there. This again will help you. You might not see it right away, but when it starts to dry, you're going to see these colors. And I love that. Yeah. And I'd rather let it travel on its own than, I just want to give it water to move into, but I really like when it just travels on its own. And that nice little white highlight, that's kind of nice, right? So there's a couple of things that I'm doing in this portrait, guys. One of the things is that I'm having you move around the painting so as not to overwork any one area. Backing it up. What's happened now is because that became darkest for me, right? Maybe I need to go in and change and darken his eyes a little bit and a little bit more on either side of his mouth and maybe underneath his nose. So it gives you an opportunity to really see what has to be done. So hopefully, if it looked like Mike was turning into a different ethnic background, this might help that situation because we're now adding our darkest darks, which we had not done. I'm going to charge up this corner again, going in with a lot of indigo and a little bit of water. It's pretty wet, and I'm letting it move into the wet area itself. It actually moves, it actually gives you a much nicer mark. And look at how dark that is. And now he doesn't look as dark. There's a shift and change here that happened because you needed to just have your darkest darks appear first. And there's one other thing that I missed here. That was the back of the hat here coming off of his ear. So I want that right there. We could go a little darker there. But this area here, that's negative space, we're going to paint that. And maybe that's an okay, so here's an edge that maybe we could lose, guys. Like right here, like the background going into his shirt. Why not? What's the difference? We already see the collar. So here I'm going to add just water. That's the rim of the hat, the back of the hat. And I'm just coming up to that. So now we used our cerulean and we used our Quin Gold. If I use those two colors, I'm going to get green. Does that make sense to everybody? But I'm going to bridge the palette at the same time. Because when you mix on your paper, you do tend to still see the colors as opposed to over mixing in your palette. And now I'm willing to lose this edge. So I'm going to say, I'm going to invite this color to come right in here. Maybe hold on a little bit of a highlight to his shirt right there. So let me go in closer for you. See, I just held on to that little highlight there. I'm using 140, by the way, so it is buckling a little bit, which is why I usually do my commissioned portraits on 300 because I won't get any buckling. And now I have a green. And now to change it to blue on his t-shirt, all we have to do is add more blue. But that's a spot I was willing to lose. That's an edge I was okay with losing.
What was the yellow you used?
I remember I added like some Quinn gold to his face.
Quinn gold, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just added Quinn gold, so I'm gonna leave the corner because you want to go light in the corner because that's where you sign your name.
What brand Cerulean do you use? Because my Cerulean looks a lot paler. I use a Winsor Newton.
Yeah, I think it's Daniel Smith, and
Daniel-
I think it's Daniel Smith, and I think it's chromium, which I really didn't know what that meant, to tell you the truth, but I'm not really sure what that means. It's just a deeper cerulean. If it's too light, jump to your cobalt.
Okay. It's a little late now because I did the whole thing in Cerulean, but next
Yeah,
time.
I get that. Well,
Okay. I didn't realize it till just now that our Ceruleans are different.
can
All
you,
right.
and I think every manufacturer has its own little,
Yeah, it still looks nice. It was just different. Thank you.
yeah, a light cerulean is absolutely fine. It really will do the job. I think I bought chromium, which I didn't really even know what that meant, to tell you the truth. I guess there's some kind of property in it.
Jan, sorry, please move the paper out. We can't see what you're painting. Thank you.
You guys are my directors. Thank you. Going to work upside down for a second because I want to take this green and I want to, again, an edge that I'm willing to lose is right here. Okay. And I'm okay with that. So I want this to be my darker color now. That's the edge of his face and the rim of his hat. So I'm just working upside down because this is sort of wet. I don't want my hand in there. You could probably charge your colors up and have them, go a little bit deeper if you wanted to. So now we're just indicating that there's some kind of green kind of thing going on the background here. I think someone needs to mute themselves. Thank you. That's a little raw sienna I added in here and a little bit more cerulean, and I'm getting a really nice green. You guys know I usually do go for my greens, but again, I wanted this to sort of be a limited palette. And there you go. You start feeling that foliage behind him. And we did it with the same colors that are in the painting. And what little areas are you willing to lose an edge? I'm really okay with losing edges. And then we could come around to the brim of his hat up here. And I can also zoom out a little bit. Let me just see here, hold on. Oops, that's not what I wanted to do. There's a zoom somewhere. So I think I could go to this camera, and there I am. I'm zoomed out a little bit, but still a little closer for you guys. Hopefully that's okay. And I'm just working this top part, which has that nice, beautiful dark green. Using my number 10, just to get a lot of water down. And now I'm going to go ahead and charge it with color, which is, I really like working that way. Wetting an area and then giving it the color that I need to have explosions happen. because everything is out of focus. He did a good job in terms of keeping, I guess, Mike, you said you used a pretty sizable camera, which threw the background out of focus, which is actually perfection. We don't want to see every leaf or everything going on here. So if I lay the color down and I tilt my paper, it sort of moves for me because all of this is wet, and it gives you a nice feel. I got a couple of specks there. Okay, let's come out of it. And there we are. We're started. Now, because we have this background going on, and I am going to add a little indigo in certain spots to just darken it even more. The Mamari indigo is absolutely one of my all-time favorite colors because it's a very warm, it's not Payne's gray, it is a really nice warm blue. And now that I'm charging it up, this is all super wet, it's giving me a really nice contrast to his face. And if you feel your complexion got too dark, this will correct that, okay? So I'm glad that you made that comment because this will really help. And we could start seeing the fuzziness in the background, that out of focus, that says something's back there and we don't know what it is, but it doesn't matter, it's green and that's okay. Little splatter. It's so wet, it's really dissipating so nicely and making it feel like it's a little texture and foliage back there. So I was willing to lose some of these, you know, we know it's a collar. We know all of this is there. You know, it doesn't have to be absolutely spelled out unless you choose it to be. And now I could definitely see going back in and going a little darker in here. I just want to get this on the recording. I don't think I think I have to redo this, but the loose way in which you work, by not saying, oh, I have to get this area perfect before I go on, or I need to work this until it looks like them, until it's complete. Those are the things that I think make it feel, you'll get tight when you do that. However, if you allow the painting to start speaking and talking back to you, you have to work the whole painting for it to start coming out and start seeing the image that you want to do come to you. So that's really a very big conversation of when we do this, is having it evolve. Don't feel it has to happen instantly. You have to get the eyes perfect before you move on. If you're going for a likeness, it's got to build. It's just got to build. It has to build itself. So you need to allow that to happen. I am paused. Are there any questions? Oh, I see, Catherine, you asked for a still life series. I like that. And somebody else said interiors. I'm keeping track of all of this. And if you guys have any imagery that you want to attempt, send it to me and I will, you know, like with the portraits, I will determine, you know, if I think it's, you know, good, good subject matter for us.
Hi, Jan, it's Meryl.
Hi,
Also,
Meryl.
I would love to do flowers in glass vases.
Yeah, I think that's always a good one. And I think what we'll do, Meryl, is those could be the Tuesday classes. Because I think we could do sunflowers and I think I don't think we need a series to do that. I think that that's just something that we can always look forward to doing, you know, in any Tuesday class. I like the idea of these 4-part series being something that we get to build upon. I just wanted to go back for 1 second to
Jen,
see.
are you gonna do his ear a little more detailed?
Yep, I am. I'm waiting for things to dry because it's so wet.
Oh.
Yep.
Okay, all righty,
Yeah.
thank you.
So I added this extra light. There's this great light. I got it Reeby's, and that's without it. Okay. It has 1 setting, 2 setting, 3 setting, and it just brightens it up really nicely. It gives you it's not a big piece either. It's this little desktop white arched light that you can adjust it. It's very, very nice.
Jan,
How
it's
much,
Angie.
how much
I
was
have
it?
a question. Hi, Jan.
Hi,
I
Angie.
was wondering if you could do some like animals in the wild.
Yeah, I'd love to do animals in the wild. That could be part of the fur and feathers. I don't know. We could do domestic and we could do wild.
Yeah, I'd love to do some wild, some landscapes with animals in them.
Beautiful. Yeah, if you guys have anything that inspires you, send it on over. I'm all, yeah, and you know what? Yeah, I love elephants. Oh my goodness, I love all of that. Giraffes we've done. So much fun. I think that's a really good series.
But even street scenes,
Street scenes, yes. Street scenes is always great.
like cabaret kind of thing.
Oh, we definitely need a series of those. Okay, I think this will take us into next summer. I love it. All right, I'm going to go back in, guys. I'm going to start recording. Oh, and I don't recall how much the light was. It wasn't a lot, but he had a number of them. So I really like it. I really feel like I have the area lit up pretty well. Proximity. So always back up and have your stand back from your painting a little bit. So we just put a little more twinkle in his eye. I think I lost that highlight a little bit. So that's easy really to get back. All you need is a little bit of white, either Chinese white. This is a little acrylic white. I could just clean brush, go in and just get that twinkle right back in there. So if you lose them, don't worry about it. A little bit of white does perfect. And if the pupil got a little too light, just go in and drop a little bit more. That's a little bit more indigo in there. And that all adds to the dimension and the beauty of an eye. And I could see we could go a little bit darker under his nose. So I'm going to take a little bit of my dragon's blood and cerulean and just go a little darker. And you want the darkest part to be towards the top of the nostril, and you want to just feather it down so that it gently comes into the rest of the lip area, the top lip. And now I'm on the top part of the mustache. The mustache comes out of the shadow. Again, I'm going to use my rigger. That's going to be a really good one to just carry these shadows down a little bit. Can everybody see what I'm doing? And how much of that you do, again, is sort of your own personal preference there. How much of that you sort of want to get into. The corners of his mouth, I could see going a little bit darker there. And again, it's hard to tell when you're in it because you don't know how dark it's going to dry and you don't have it in relationship to everything else. So it's very important that you wait to go super dark in these areas. It's a very good timing thing. You want to wait until you have your darkest dark sort of in, which I feel we do. We added the band and we added the background. So now we are able to see the relationship of the darks to each other and where you might need more of them. Let me back it out a second. And see how now the dark's a sparkle in his eye, under his nostrils a little bit, under his nose, above the mustache a little bit, and the corners of his mouth. Those are all areas that needed to go a little darker. You cannot judge that while you're there the first time. You need to have a background and you need to have other things in place to properly see that. So that's, this is definitely something that is coming about. And then, of course, with your rigger, you can always go in and add some nice little, areas of facial hair. How much? Again, up to you. I am feeling like right here, I want to add a dark area right in there. I'm going to go in with a little indigo, and right here, I just want to go a little bit darker and feather it out a little bit. Again, this was something I couldn't see because this is now the third layer that's going on his forehead, right? And it's still sort of questionable if I went dark enough yet. That looks like brown. It's not. That is dragon's blood and cerulean. But it makes a really great color. There we go. That's starting to come about. And these are the little things, as the more we build it, the more we have the likeness sort of coming about, his expression, his facial expressions. So many pieces of this just had to happen over time, over the course of the painting, not all at one time. I think Mike should chime in and tell me what he thinks.
I think it looks great now. It really does.
I feel like I am starting to capture you, I'm starting to see you come into this.
Yep. I think I have to work the triad of the cerulean blue, the violet, and the dragon's blood a little better.
It's a big conversation, and because I know a lot of people, when they do portraits, they pre-mix their colors, and we did a little of that. But I think there's an excitement that's happening by watching something happen on the paper without that pre-mixing going on. So it does take practice, no doubt. All right, let's go in and do that ear. Let's go in closer, find the ear, there it is. And it's funny little shapes. Dragon's blood, cerulean. I'm just gonna find that big shape right there. And then this is sort of like the nostril, guys. Get that dark shape. Take your paint and your water off and carry it down and let it move into, because there's a softness to it, right? So I'm suggesting where the initial shadow is, but then there's a softness as it travels down. They're funny little things, these ears. And then that outer rim is sort of there and there. And unless you're doing an anatomy drawing, you probably don't need more than that, I'm going to add a little bit of the straw hat color back here, just to say hat. And I do see that he has some hair here on that side. So I want to suggest that also. So the way that I'm going to do that, and I'm going to go in and just add a drop of cerulean on the top up here. Sorry, drop a cerulean up here. Let me back out. And then just feather it down with my rigger. A little bit of water will help move it. Doesn't have to be precision because everybody's going to know it's hair. A little bit of sideburn. You know, based on the fact that his, mustache and goatee are white, you're going to assume that there's white in his hair. But because it's in shadow, I don't want to go too far with that. Just this little suggestion of hair right there like that.
Jan, I'm sorry, what did you use for the hair? Was that white?
I used cerulean.
Okay.
I use cerulean. Yeah, I use cerulean. It's just a, because we have the white here and the cerulean is there, and because this is in a shadow area, I think that that will read just fine. I'm feeling like this area needs to go a little darker, and maybe that crease right there. Just a couple little things, and I think I want to let it breathe a little bit. You got to stand back from this stuff because boy, does it trick you up if you don't. You'll just keep working and working and working it, and it doesn't necessarily make it better. Just doing a little correction on his eye. That lid went a little higher than I wanted, so I got a flat edge angled brush, and I'm just going in and lifting a little bit and then lifting it with a little bit with a tissue. That looks better to me, that little bit. Maybe a little bit over here too.
Could you bring the eyes closer?
I can, yeah. Let's see where they are. Okay, so I'm just going in a little bit closer here, getting a little bit more white on that lid, the upper lid. So you could see I'm just lifting it ever so slightly. It's not like I need to add white or anything, but they're just a little, he's kind of has that, dreamy eye look. So all I am is loosening up a little bit with my flat edge brush and lifting it a little bit, just taking it off with my tissue. If I'm going for a likeness, that's something that I see as something I want to correct. I don't know if you need correction on that, but I could see that that's something that I want to fix.
Jan, do you ever use watercolor markers?
Yes, I have. I wouldn't use it on a portrait, I don't think. But yes, I have. And I just dropped his eyelid ever so slightly. Now I'm looking over here and I feel like this needs a little bit more here on the side of his face. Maybe a little bit more shadow. I think I have to let it sit for a little bit and see if I actually feel I need more of anything. I might not. I guess we have to ask Pat if we got her man. Mike, is Pat there?
No, she's babysitting.
Okay, we'll just have to wait to see what she thinks.
Yeah.
So here's what I recommend you do when you're doing portraits. And again, I realize that you're doing people that you don't know. And that's helpful, I think, because it gives you a chance to not feel so tight and unsteady about the whole thing. But what it will give you is that good practice that you need, that when you want to go in and actually start doing portrait work, grandkids and whatnot, you sort of have the understanding of what you need to do. And so what I would recommend, I'm going in and making the shadow a little darker with the same two colors. That would have been a little too dark for me to start with, but you could see now that we've built the background, how much better that looks. This got a little light. I can go a little darker in that corner right there. I like that. I'm having your eye sort of move and dance around the painting a little bit, right? I could see adding a little bit more dark right here. This is straight indigo, guys. Almost no water, just enough water to move it. It would be hard to start a painting here, really. You know, it's just the way it is. But that's why we built it. Okay, look at how much better that looks. So you guys know color gets the credit, contrast does the work. And that's just the fact. Yeah. Now things are starting to come in place. I don't really feel the need to do much more in his shirt. I mean, yeah, I could go in and make it the right color and add the, you know, I'll tell you what I would do is I would add, using your dragon's blood and a tiny bit of your cerulean, there's a very nice shadow. Let me go in and show this to you. There's a very nice shadow from his t-shirt on his neck. And that's a really nice shadow. So it's right there. And let's see, and it's over here too. Very nice shadows. That's a real FIT thing. You could take the girl out of FIT. But the lessons are still very much ingrained in my psyche. Still using those rules today. Perfect. That really now sits. Let me back it out. You'll see what I mean. It just feels a little more three-dimensional. You can also take your blue and just add a little bit of a shadow right here. Just a little bit if you wanted to. You know how much you want to do on clothing and things like that? Entirely up to you. I'm not a big fusspot when it comes to that, unless they're wearing ruffles and it's really part of the conversation. Any questions? Any comments? Anything anybody has to? And I do apologize. I do feel like I probably messed up this recording, so I do need to probably redo it at some point. I'll send you what I have. But I'll have to redo you, Mike.
I have to redo me too.
I have to redo you too. You know, and I get it. You guys don't know where I'm going with this. So you know, you might not have started the same way. You might fall back on old patterns and things like that. I get it. I understand that. I really do. It makes total sense to me. There's one other thing that I would do to finish this, and that would be to bring around some of these beautiful rims that are on the hat. And I think I'm going to use a little bit of that's just a little indigo, guys, sorry. I obviously have trouble talking and painting at the same time. Gotten better at it. I don't think I say as much as I used to.
Jan, what color are you using for that?
Indigo.
Thank you.
And it just sort of says, you know, hat. It says hat, which is good. So what I'm doing now, guys, is I'm just looking at little things that might just say a little bit more that this is Michael, that I might accentuate a little bit. How did this feel to everybody? Did you feel like we pulled together a whole lot of lessons by building up?
I think you did do that, but
I
it,
think so too.
but it was very fast. It was hard to keep up with you painting. And you explained that that's how you do it. You keep going, but it just was hard to keep up with you. You went from one place to the next. So I was, that's the beauty of the recording. So we can go back and finish things we might not have had, but it did bring it all together. Thank you.
You're welcome, and thank you for that feedback. And partially, it's hard for me to go slower because it is sort of this moving around situation that helps to build the painting. So even if you couldn't keep up with me, and I'm hoping the recording is there, but I'm doubting it. But I will do it again. So, know that I will do that. It does give you an opportunity to more than just paint a portrait, but learn how I get the results I get, because you're here because of your desire to create a loose portrait. And partially the way I get it is by not sticking in one area too much. And if I were to slow myself down, well, then I would be doing you a disservice, if that makes any sense at all. The fact
Jan,
that, yeah.
Sometimes I found myself doing better when you were faster, so that by the time this is our 4th week, I didn't get it as good as you or even nearly as good, but I found all my mistakes pretty much. So I was very glad the speed you went.
Thank you, Claudia. I appreciate that. I do feel that the speed does help. I feel the speed will stop you from working too tightly. The other thing is that you can see how I'm constantly moving around and I'm not in any one spot. And that moving around also, it's the building blocks of a portrait. So for me to slow myself down is doing you an injustice in a way. And I get that you don't know where I'm going or where I'm going to go. So I get that you aren't really as sure of what I'm about to do. But I can assure you that by attempting to do some of these types of approaches, by working it looser, starting with, I always start with the eyes, but then you could see we went back several times to go back into the eyes. You don't have to finish the eyes before you move on. And in fact, you should get them initially down and then go back, because it's got to be built.
Jan, what I'm noticing on your paintings is that you get a very white, bright look, like on the right side of his cheek and all. And yet, I think I'm following it. And my colors are, again, like Mike said, very dark. And I'm using all of your brands. And I don't understand why I can't get that whiteness that you get. Everything seems to get darker.
Yeah, me too. So
it's practice. it's really the best way to describe it is that it is a practice. I save lots of whites. And so I'm not painting the whole thing. I do like the idea of saving whites. I do like the idea of having light washes and then going back in and creating darks around it. So it's a process that I've just found is a working process for me to get where I want to go. So if you're not getting that, I would simply say, try it again, because there are a lot of whites that I saved here. You know, I would say maybe a quarter of the painting, maybe a little bit less, maybe a sixth of the painting doesn't have any paint on it. So I do like doing that. That's just part of my style.
Jan,
Yeah.
when you started, you basically almost painted the whole face and those whites on either side of the nose and the cheek.
I kept them.
I don't know. It looked like you were painting them though.
Soften water. She was
There's
softening.
a lot of whites. There's a lot of whites.
Water, okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of whites. I definitely saved the two cheeks here, the nostrils, the whites in the eye, the teeth, and a lot around your mustache and goatee. Those are whites. But what I did do, which may be what you're thinking, is that what I did do is I took my brush and I gently gave it a water around it so that it blended very softly into the white. It's not a hard line. So that might have been what you saw, was a blending of just giving it water, no color, and gently letting that skin tone come up to the apples of the cheeks.
Gotcha.
So I think that might be what you saw. We'll have to go, you know, I'm not sure I got the whole recording. I think I started a little bit late into it. So I'll be doing you again, Mike, I think, but I'll send you what I have. And this is just, guys, this is just the process that I use. I'm not saying everybody uses this process. I certainly don't feel that it's the only way to get a portrait, but this is how I get a portrait. And yours way may be an integration of what you're comfortable with and what you, where you sort of want your paintings to go to, okay? What you're looking for things to sort of appear like, or how much detail you want to have in there. Those questions are the questions that you must ask yourself and find your own answers for. Within all of those questions is your style. And style evolves. Style doesn't stay the same. You know, it should evolve, and you should get more comfortable with certain things that, certain types of ways that you get there. So the fact is that it's just, look, I'm ready to do all the other portraits. I want to go back in, and if you guys want to do this with me next week, I plan on repainting her. You know, we only did skin tones on her, right? We only did skin tones on her. So, you know, we could go back in and try the hair on those also. So I'll send you where I'm at with all of these. And if you want to bring your paintings up to that point and then leave the hair, we'll do the hair next week for anybody who's interested in doing that. And I'll leave the hair undone and you'll see exactly what I did. And I'll send everything to you. So we'll work on the same paintings that we've been working on, adding the hair.
Dan, is there any chance that we could have another 4-week session on just what you did today? Portraits, completed 4 new ones?
Yes, wonderful. Very
I would love that.
So we could do this again, the whole process, if we keep doing it.
If you guys want another 4 portraits, I love portraits. I'm happy to do that.
That would be great.
I'm so happy.
Yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Nice.
Yes.
This way we'll repeat it and maybe something will
keep
sink in.
building it, repeating it, and I
like that. I like that.
I like
idea
that.
too. Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
It's,
I'm
you
all for
really
that.
grow so much better by doing it over and
Yeah.
over again. So
Yes.
I think that we could all benefit from another one of these. This was great.
I'm so
I
glad.
agree.
Yes. Thank you so
Yes,
much.
thank you.
I'm happy to do another
Ethan, if
4
you
weeks.
could
We'll do
work on
hair
water
next week,
control.
and let's do a bunch of portraits, just like we did today.
Jan,
Okay.
could you just show your mic picture again? Just so I can.
So, I'm
compare
sorry,
it.
what
I
was
can
it?
cry.
To that,
Excuse me? Oh, yeah, perfect.
and I'll send this to you guys. I'll send you Mike.
Yes, good, good.
Mike, I feel like it's you, babe.
I do too, like looking in the mirror. Better than the
So
mirror.
cute. Aw. No, this was
Jan?
good stuff to work with.
Jan,
Yeah.
along the lines of what everybody's saying, for me personally, if you look back at the very first picture and you look back now, not that it's wonderful, but we've come a long way. And the more and more we learn how to do this, the better and better. I can only say, really, I can't get over what you've done, really.
I'm so glad. Thank you. That was Lorraine, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, I thought so.
Mary Lee, thank you, 100%.
Listen,
It's
I am
great.
here. I'm here to help you guys with your art in any capacity at all. I'm thrilled that you feel this way, that you're starting to get it. I'm all for another 4 steps of portraits now that we have all those basics. I will send you documents about it, and I think that's a great idea. I didn't know if you were needed to move on to other things or not.
This is
Great.
I'm glad you feel you're learning from it, and that you are getting those skills that we really do need to do them, and the confidence to do them, because we really did take 4 weeks. We learned all the different planes and different bone structure of the face. So that's, I took 2 semesters of FIT and I put it in a couple of hours, but practicing those, doing the sketch first, and knowing I don't necessarily need to do the sketches first. I did that for you guys so that you understood that so much of this is built through the shadows. So if you guys want it, I will absolutely come up with 4 portraits. Maybe we'll do, certain ages, sort of work our way, older to younger or younger to older or something like that. If you have pictures that you want me to take a look at, I love what Mike did. I thought it was absolutely perfect. He sent me many. I think maybe you sent me 12 until I found the right one. And I will tell you this, that's a very big part of this, is making sure you get the expression that you feel you have the information to do a decent painting of. Because it's really hard to do it. Then it's almost like it doesn't look like the person, because you have to make too many changes to make it up. So I applaud you guys. Portraits are tough, and I really am so amazed that you want more of this. I love doing portraits, and I love showing you how to do portraits, and I love that you all feel you're improving. It's never going to look like mine. Mine is not mine. You should start having the skills to
Jan?
and be your own. Yeah.
Janice, Janet, so can we send you some pictures that we have and you'll just choose? Okay.
Yeah. And
We
I
have
will
some
evaluate
interesting
them.
ones.
Yes, Janet, absolutely.
We have some
And what
interesting
I'm
ones from some trips that we've taken and things of that sort. So,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll email them to you.
Jan, it's Mark. I'm wondering, would it be, I know everybody's onto the portraits and all, but since it's such a large class, would it be better if you kind of voted on it, on what people are more interested in?
Oh.
Once we start that, there's always problems.
Yeah.
And are we going to learn to do the hair? Because I did do the 3 children, and with the hopes I would learn how to do the hair.
Yeah. So
Are we
Jean,
gonna
what we
go
said was next. That was Jean, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm so glad I have your voices down. It feels, because I can't talk with so many faces on here. I will do hair next week. We're going to do one add-on to really help you guys on how I approach hair. So that's going to be sort of a 5th week add-on to this 4-week portrait. And then maybe we do 2 more portraits, you know, instead of 4. And then move on to something else. Maybe we'll do something like that, just so we don't spend, you know, all that, you know, another 4. So maybe we'll do 2 portraits. How does that sound? This way we'll sort of accommodate everybody. We'll use
2 portraits next week? Oh, no.
Next week is hair.
Okay.
Now, how do we know, how do we send you the money? Like, are you going to send us an email?
Yes.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes. I send everybody like a PayPal, but if you pay through Zelle or Venmo, I keep track of everybody who paid for the extra class next week. What I'll do is I'll send an email with 2 portraits. We'll do a portrait on the 17th and 24th. That'll take us to the end of September. And then we'll start another 4-week workshop in October and do it that way. I think that's the best way to do it. All right.
So
So
how much would we
hair?
have to send
Wait a minute.
again altogether if we send for the hair and the 2 portrait? How much is that altogether?
So that'll be 60, right? Because these classes I'm not doing a critique on. The Tuesday classes we do a critique on. So these Thursday classes, there's no critique. It's really your own biofeedback. So they're $20 each. So if you want to do the next 3 hair, which would be next week, and then 2 portraits, which I'll send to you guys. Question, how, I do feel that it's important you guys learn how to do your own contour drawing. Do really feel that me giving it to you, I'm happy to give it to you, but I feel that that's another skill set that I want you to get. So.
Okay, so my 2 cents, I like to take, when I do it, I take your contour drawing and the actual photo and I have it up on my screen and I look mostly at the portrait and once in a while I look at your contour drawing to see if I'm going in the right direction. So I appreciate both, but I am drawing it freehand.
Okay, Karen, thank you for that. I'm happy to give you guys the contour drawing. What Karen just described, I think is a really great way to not just copy my contour drawing, but use that as, these are the only marks I really need, and create your own contour drawing, because I won't be there to help you do every single, the idea of knowing the right shapes that you need to paint is very important. Because it's not a drawing, it's saying to you, here's my roadmap, here's the map that I need to paint. I need this shape. This shape will tell me what I'm painting. This shape on the cheekbones will tell me what not to paint. See what I'm saying? It's like, the contour drawing is not the prettiest thing, but it is the roadmap that you will need to transition from photo to painting something.
So can you give us some instruction in that, or we just have to figure that out?
Well, we did it on the first class. You know, the first class
Okay.
we did that. You know, we did do that. So, you know, and you guys should have all the recordings, and I'll include this one, I think, except for the first 20 minutes, maybe it's all here. But yeah, and you know, Janet, if you look at the photographs and then you look at my contour, you can sort of see those are the marks that I know that I need to paint an accurate painting.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
You know, and what you could do is you could take your photograph and put it up against a window, and then take your 140, and if you hold it up to a window, you're going to see right through it, and you can find the marks, unless you have a light box, which is also very helpful. The 140 really works well for that. So you just need to find, it's an odd looking drawing because it's not a drawing and it's not a painting. It's the marks you need to do a successful painting. So I'll send it to you. Yeah.
About the, you showed us this thing called copy cake.
Yes.
How is that better than the light box? Because I have a light box,
Okay.
but I want to know if I need that also.
So the copy cake is great. It clamps onto my desk. It's on my second floor studio, so I can't really show it to you. But what it is that it's a projector, and the projector goes up and down on a pole. So by putting my image, my printed out image inside the little trap door, my box goes up and down, so I can make it larger or smaller depending on the size that I want to work.
And then it casts the image onto your paper?
Yes, it's a projector.
And then 1 second, Mary Lee, I had
How large a size can you put in that box of your picture? How large?
What I put in the box is about 5.5 inches max. It's a little trap door, 5.5 inches max.
So how do you reduce your photograph to that size?
Well,
you do that on your computer?
Yeah, that's on your computer. That's in your computer software. So when you hit print, you can determine, there should be boxes that open up that tell you, I only want it to go this size. I don't want it to be any bigger. So that's sort of your print driver, I think it is. Help me out, guys. It's a print driver, right? That's what
right.
So I get to see you, Francie.
Yeah, and also the other thing I did was I actually went ahead with one of the children and painted the full portrait with the hair.
Good.
And I belong to an art group.
Yeah.
And I brought it there this morning because we meet on Thursday mornings.
Yeah.
They were blown away.
Oh my
and
God,
they
that's
all
so
want
awesome.
They all want me to send your email.
Oh,
So-
that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Well, you know, guys, I do have this promo that for every person that you introduce to me that sign up for classes, you get a free class. So, you know, I'm thrilled. I want, you know, thank you. And that will, you know, and my thank you to you is, you know, for anyone who comes on, always remind me that they get their first class for free and you get a class for free. So that's my thank you to you guys for that beautiful, generous, kind, giving introduction. So, so to just complete the thought, Francine, sometimes the projector, like I want it to be even bigger. Like it will go pretty big because I'll raise it way up and then it will, you know, enlarge as it comes down, as you pull it away. Sometimes I have to put it horizontal and I have to back it up on my table and project it onto a wall where I attach my paper to get it like half sheet. So usually I work quarter sheet. These little portraits I'm using 8 sheet. But if I want it to be half sheet, what I'll do is, I'm sorry, I can hear some noise in the background. I just want to mute some people. I think I accidentally muted you, Francie. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I'll project it outward so I could back it up and I could get the image even larger because I like the speed in which I get the marks that I need to paint. And that's why I transfer, that's why I project, that's why I like using a light box because I'm not doing a drawing. I'm doing a contour of what I want to paint and it gets me there faster and it gets me there more accurately. And it's something that's been used through the absolute ages always to get an accurate placement of features or marks or whatever. You're really finding your darks and your lights. It's really what you're doing, guys. You're always looking for your lights and your darks, your shapes. You're finding the shapes, and that's what a contour drawing is, Janet. Is you still there, Janet? Yeah. Your contour drawing is your darks and your lights. It's the shapes. So your contour drawing should be just piles of shapes. Shape, 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 shape. And that's what we paint. We paint shapes. So.
Jan, you know, the reason a contour drawing helps is because in the past, particularly Tuesday's class, if there's no contour drawing, sometimes you leave out things.
Yes.
I've done things in detail and then I have to do it when you're painting. You do it from a different perspective.
Yes, it's absolutely true. And thank you for that. It's very true.
But the class is great.
I'm so glad. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was
Happy
fun,
birthday.
Jan.
So it's worth all the hard work.
Happy birthday, Jan.
Oh, thank
Happy
you.
birthday.
Olivia.
Oh,
Happy
Is today your
birthday.
Tomorrow.
Happy birthday.
1, 2, 3.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
Okay.
Happy
All right.
Happy
birthday.
birthday.
Many more.
Happy birthday
To
to
you.
you.
Thank
See
you.
you next week.
Happy
Thank
birthday.
you.
See you
Have
next
a
week.
great Labor Day weekend, guys. I
You
adore
too.
all of you.
You
Thank
too.
you for your
Joy.
support and your kind words.
See you next week.
Thanks so
Have a
much,
great
Jan.
weekend.
You too.
All right,
Bye.
guys. I'll
Bye,
send
Jan.
you.
Jan,
Bye.
a great
Thank
class.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a
Thanks,
happy
guys.
day.
Good seeing your faces.
Jan, can we sign up for those 3 classes now or?
Yep, go right ahead. Yep, absolutely, Lynn. Thank you. Yeah, you want
Bye,
them?
Jen. It's
Sign
Eleanor.
up.
Bye.
I'll send out an email too.
It's
Okay,
okay
good.
just to do
Okay,
the hair.
great.
Bye-bye.
Jan,
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you.
Jan, we
Thank
could
you,
just-
everybody.
Jan,
Thank you, Jan. Have a
the
happy
hair
day.
one if we want.
Thank you so much. Somebody had a question? Was it you, Marco? Did you have a question? No?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I can just sign up for the hair, right? I don't have to.
You can do anything you want. Yeah, of course. You could just do the hair. If you want the other 2, I'll send out an email with everything explained.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Bye, guys.